Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. Today, I'm joined by Jude
Howdy.
and Lucy.
I'm here. Hello.
And today, we're going to be talking about equipment. Recently, Final Fantasy came out with a lot of equipment support. So, we're going to be talking about some of our favorites and why we like them so much and why or why not they might be so broken. So, I get to go first. I'm talking about Colossus Hammer. It's a 1 mana colorless equipment. It has equipped creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying. And it has equip for 8. But you can just completely ignore that equip for 8 because we're cheating it. We're cheating that equip cost and smacking people for butt tons of damage and trying to combo kill them super fast.
Yeah. So there's a certain collection of Magic cards that are known for having good flavor text, specifically because the flavor text describes very well what the function of the card is. And I think belongs to that club. When you want to make sure something is really dead, Colossus Hammer is your card. +10/+10 for 1 mana is absurd, and you usually need to spend another card to cheat the equip cost, but still absurd.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever pay retail for this, you're playing it wrong. Truly. I like that they made this card and someone in Wizards R&D said, "Hey, remember how mad everyone got when we printed Pin to the Earth and it didn't make flying creatures lose flying? Yeah, we got to make whatever's holding the big bonk stick lose flying." But yeah, Pure Steel Paladin and Sigarda's Aid, eat your heart out.
All right, and now we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million ways to cheat it.
Now, Jude, we're going to talk about your favorite equipment.
Yeah, well, favorite is a strong word, but what we will be talking about is Embercleave, which is 4 red for a legendary equipment. It's got flash. It costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control, and when it enters the battlefield, you get to snap it onto a creature, probably one of the ones you're attacking with, to reduce its cost. And once it is on that creature, the equipped creature gets +1/+1, double strike, and trample. And if you, for some reason, need to equip it again after you've already killed someone with it, you can pay 3 mana to do that. This is basically a Temur Battle Rage that you get an entire bonus card out of that sticks around on the battlefield to do more things with. I'm also pretty sure Temur Battle Rage doesn't give you +1/+1, so it's also better in that regard. And I've lost to this card a whole lot, mostly in Standard, during Eldraine Standard. If on turn 4 you didn't have an instant speed kill spell or a counter spell or something like that, and Mono Red swung at you without spending any mana, you are just dead. You need to have a response. And it maybe hasn't gotten up to quite as much in the slower paced formats or the, longer lived eternal formats, but still a real mollywhopper of a card.
I love that this card does what it does. I have personally experienced so much pain on the receiving end of this card that I have mixed emotions about Embercleave. So many times the fact that it has an equip cost basically is meaningless because when you play Embercleave, the game is probably over. If you're attacking with 3 creatures and you pay 1 red to put this on whatever your biggest one is, or if something is being, God forbid, you attack with a 4/4 and your opponent chumps with a 1/1 and you put this on the 4/4, your opponent is going to think about that when they sleep that night. They're just going to stay up in bed thinking about how they should have blocked, knowing in hindsight you had Embercleave. I have had the unfortunate nature of losing to this card in limited more than I'd like, and so it makes me sad. I've lost to it in Thorns of Eldraine. I've lost to it in Arena Cube. I've lost to it as a special guest in Foundations, which feels incredibly bad. And so I'm not happy when I see it, but I respect it for what it does.
So I will say I haven't played against this card a lot, but I know that combat tricks that give trample and stick around are really good because I've played a little bit of standard. And so the fact that this gives double strike as well, I think this card is probably absolutely cracked in half. And hopefully I never have to encounter this card.
You're cracked in half after you're
Yeah.
connected with it. Once somebody hits you with this, you are cracked in
real.
half.
That is true.
I haven't seen this much in Commander. I would be really curious as to if it works well there. Like, obviously
I'm sure
combat
some
damage
deck
is
can
harder
play
to
it,
win with.
right?
Yeah, I'm sure like Gruul Stompy
Yeah.
would have a field day with this card, but I still don't see it.
Yeah. I'm imagining just beating someone to death by putting this on basically just any dumb creature. Like imagine playing this in like a Saskia deck or something.
Ooh.
And it's just I'm gonna beat the crap out of you and you at the same time. Isn't that fun?
Oh yeah.
No.
All right, well it's my turn, so
Okay.
we're talking about something that's broken and not dumb somewhere. So first let's talk about Skull Clamp. Skull Clamp, 1-mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/-1. Equips for 1, and whenever the equipped creature dies, you get to draw 2 cards. So this is the poster child for Wizards changing the text on cards late in development and it causing problems. So as the story goes, as the legends have told, originally this card gave +1/+0, and the designers at the time thought, well, we should probably not make it quite as good. So what if we made it give -1 toughness? So it was +1/-1. And they didn't really have time to test that to find out just how dumb and broken that is. Turns out if any random 1 toughness creature you make, whether it's a token or just some 1-mana dork that you've played and it's fulfilled their purpose, maybe an Arcbound worker of some kind that was around the same time, you just pay 1 mana and you draw 2 cards. So this is banned in Legacy, this is banned in Modern, this is banned in or it was banned in Extended when Extended was a thing. I believe it was banned in Block Constructed at the time. Skull Clamp is a huge issue of a card. Many players know it now in Commander, where it's still a card that you need to remove almost on sight in many decks, but is a very, very powerful draw engine that many people now know and love, myself included. But if you ever had the misfortune of playing against this card in a constructed format, first and foremost, how's your back? And secondly, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I will say this card is just absolutely cracked in half. And as much as the gremlin in me wants to be like, let's unban it, I know that it would just like be so rampant and so good. There's like, especially like as Magic gets more and more tokens, more and more ways to produce tokens, and more chaff creatures, this card just gets even better and better, and so it's basically impossible to ever see the light of fair formats ever again.
Yeah, it's aged very well. I will give it that, but I think Skull Clamp is absolutely a design mistake. I think just the fact that you almost
100%.
never want to equip this to give like a stat bonus to something is a sign of that. It's an equipment, but not really. It's just a fancy draw engine that can be conditionally tutored a bit more easily.
I have put Skull Clamp on a 5-drop and sacked it to a sack outlet to draw 2 cards. Like I am so Skull Clamp build, I can't help it.
They made an entire card in Tarkir Dragonstorm that was just a one-off Skull Clamp. It was a black 1-mana instant. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a fine card. And this is just as many copies of that as you want.
When you put it like that,
good
yeah.
clean living.
All right, it's my turn now. So the next equipment I picked is Shadow Spear. It's a 1 colorless legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has trample and lifelink. You can pay 1, permanents your opponent's control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and you can equip it for 2. I like this card because it's just a good, clean sideboard card. It does everything you want, but it's not so broken that you want to play 4 of it in the main deck. But you can run it in sideboards, you can fetch it off Urza's Sagas. It's just a good, clean equipment.
Yeah, Shadow Spear. I remember when this card first came out, and I was thinking, that seems okay, but isn't there a land that like does the whole removing hexproof thing? Why would I ever need this card? And the answer is because Trample and Lifelink are really good, actually, especially in a limited context where Lifelink basically can just win games automatically from the sheer amount of like life total swing you're giving, and Trample, as we've already talked about, is just a very good keyword all around. Yeah, this card is just very, very solid, even if you're not doing anything with the whole losing hexproof and indestructible, or if you're not bringing it for that specific purpose. These days you'll probably find a purpose for it regardless. There's a lot of indestructible, a lot of hexproof, maybe not as much hexproof, but lots of indestructible. So, good card.
Yeah. As it turns out, those lands that do this effect, the ability to do it is usually more expensive. They have to tap for it, which this doesn't, which it's really funny because you can pay 1, and then if they find a way to give it, hexproof or indestructible again, you just do it again. It's whatever. It's just 1 mana. You don't tap it. Like you said, trample, lifelink, and +1/+1 for the cost of 3 total mana, 1 to play and 2 to equip is, that's just good stuff. In limited, this card was one of those things where you either had an answer to it or you just lost the game. +1/+1 trample and lifelink. This we've come a long way from Loxodon Warhammer. Shadow Spear is a pretty gnarly limited card, and I'm glad it has a home. It has a way to be a role player in decks with Urza Saga and things that can tutor it out. But yeah, this is my favorite Elspeth related card.
It's a lot better than the other like weird Elspeth equipment, Luxior or whatever.
Oh, the one that turns.
Oh yeah, this is much better. This is much better than Luxior. It's also better than Godsend. Yeah.
I don't think
Luxior turns planeswalkers into big creatures or whatever. But yeah, I think I've seen a Godsend in limited in Theros, and that was it. Or Journey into Nyx or whatever set it was in.
I'll have to look this card.
That was it. I saw 1 Godsend.
Because I've never heard of this Godsend.
Yeah, have fun.
Okay, so I have our next card here, and we're going to be talking about Sunforger, which is a 3 mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +4/+0. You can equip it for 3 mana, and you can pay red and a white and unattach it to search your library for a red or white instant card with converted mana cost 4 or less, and then you get to cast it without paying its mana cost, and you shuffle it into your library. Or no, then shuffle your library. Don't shuffle it into your library. That would be silly. So most of the equipment that we've talked about thus far are all very like low cost and efficient for what they do. Embercleave, is 6 mana, but actually it's only 2. This card is the opposite of that. You need 6 mana to make it do literally anything at all, and you probably have to pay another 2 mana after that, unless you just want the +4/+0 for some reason. But I find this card very interesting because it's a tutor engine, which is not something that we see a whole lot of. And I think tutor engines are interesting because they usually have a pretty high asking price. This is, obviously it's a lot of mana, and it only fetches for a relatively narrow range of cards. Varragoth Bloodsky Sire is another card that comes to mind where you have to find a way to keep a 2/3 alive for multiple turns. Yeah, I just think Sunforger is really cool. I haven't had the chance to play with it a lot yet, but the combined equipment and instant or sorcery themes in these colors, especially, are really unique, and I have a real fondness for this.
So
You guys
I'll
had
say
this,
this was one of those cards that was a really cute thing to do in Commander for a long time. That I think to me it was maybe a bit too Boros for a Sultai-minded mage to understand and appreciate like myself. But I think the fact that, so you said instant sorcery, the fact this actually only gets instants. It does not get
Oh
sorceries.
my god!
They did not want this to be able to get Wrath of God.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That was the main thing. But like, yeah, you could do some really cute things with Sunforger. I've definitely seen some games where people get to equip it and then unattach it and go get some interesting stuff. You know, there were some fun decks where you got to do some really silly things with Sunforger, and it's never been a card that this is kind of. I guess the better way to put it, this is kind of the definition of what Commander used to be, of playing a lot of cards that are clearly very inefficient, but do something that's just unique and special that you can't really get anywhere else. I would be hard pressed to spend this kind of mana in Commander on this effect nowadays. But this was certainly a fun and unique card for a long time that I personally didn't play with very much. But I certainly saw some people playing around with it and was aware of it.
I will say I don't like Sunforger, but there is one cute thing that Sunforger can do that I accept, and it's Winds of Change. And I just think it's kind of funny that you can go, I'm gonna Winds of Change your board when you attack me off of my Sunforger.
No, wait. Winds of Change is a sorcery.
That's
Well,
it's sorcery. You can't Winds of Change off of this.
No,
It's gotta be an instant.
There's a card. What is it? You
Nope.
wraths an attacker's board, and they get a bunch of basic land.
Land? Oh, Settle the Wreckage?
Settle
Yeah.
the Wreckage. My bad.
Oh, that's Settle the Wreckage. Yeah, you could settle the Wreckage off of this just fine. That might be one of the best cards you can get with this card.
Yeah,
I think my favorite thing about this is that
it can grab a whole.
It doesn't have to be just red or just white. Yeah, so I've seen someone get. Oh goodness, what's the card? I've seen people get blue-white counterspells with this card.
Yep.
Because it's just a red card or a white card. It doesn't have to be strictly those things. That's why you can do some really dumb things with Sunforger. You know, it was always meant to grab Lightning Helix, but I think I've seen it grab a Lightning Helix once in my life.
Alrighty. And now it's back to you, Lucy.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about another Broken Band card that everyone's heard of at least once in their life. So this is Umezawa's Jitte. It's 2 mana for a legendary artifact equipment. When the equipped creature deals combat damage, not to a player, just combat damage, put 2 charge counters on Umezawa's Jitte. Remove a charge counter from Umezawa's Jitte and choose one. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, or target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn, or you gain 2 life, and it equips for 2. Now, Umezawa's Jitte is on this list. First of all, it's banned in Modern for a very good reason. Umezawa's Jitte is also the only equipment on this list to be so good that people played it in Standard so that they could legend rule their opponent's Umezawa's Jitte with the old legend rule to remove it from play. This card is absolutely absurd. So the main thing you need to understand about Umezawa's Jitte, if you don't get how broken it is, if you've never played with it, if you've never sat across from it, is the ability to remove charge counters and do those effects are abilities of the Jitte. They are not abilities granted to the creature that it is equipped to. So if the equipped creature dies and you have counters on the Jitte, it can still be activated. You don't have to have it on a creature. So you just have to get in there. Control decks at the time would play this just on the off chance they could get in with a creature a couple of times. and then just use this as removal with the -1/-1 effect. Creatures, if you have a 1/1 with an Umezawa's Jitte on it that somehow goes unanswered, it is a 4-turn clock. Umezawa's Jitte is a brutal card. It's unlikely that many people have had a chance to play with it in limited, maybe in some cubes, or if you've been incredibly unlucky or fortunate in a chaos draft. I have played in a limited event once where someone was able to get Umezawa's Jitte, and you don't lose games if you resolve Umezawa's Jitte. It's that good. If you rank cards from 1 to 5 in limited, Umezawa's Jitte is the 6.
I will say this card is absolutely so good. 2 counters is a lot of counters. The fact that it's not on the creature, like Lucy said, means that it's just a persistent threat. And the fact that you can move the counters at instant speed, you don't have to wait till sorcery speed, just makes it even better. And just like you can wait till your opponent's instep if you want to remove a creature to see if they play something even scarier.
Yeah, reactivity is everything, especially in 1v1 formats, which is where I think a lot of the cards we've talked about today at least shine more. That's not necessarily true. Sunforger is kind of a commander, former all-star, but a lot of equipment tends to do better in 1v1 formats just because it is a more aggressive card type, I feel. And this card just is really silly. One thing that it has in common with a lot of the other equipment that we've talked about is that you need to answer it rather than the creature that it's on to really like feel good against it, which is sort of a trait of equipment as a whole, since unlike auras, you can re-equip them. But especially for all the cards we've talked about, like the equipment itself is probably a bigger threat than the creature that it's on, just like pound for pound.
Yeah, apparently, I was looking into this. Apparently, originally, when they were designing this card, the -1/-1 ability was not part of the list. Instead, it was at a single black mana. And I don't know which would have somehow been more oppressive. I genuinely don't know. Having played against this card and how strong the -1/-1 ability is, I don't know if making this colorless black mana ramp instead would somehow have been more fair. But I don't want to see that world. I never want to see the timeline where we get the mana ramp Jitte. But this one certainly wasn't any more fair.
Oof.
This is another card, by the way. You go ahead.
I was just saying, if this was mana ramp, oh my freaking god.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
This is another card that just has like that second line of rules text as an entire other card. Umezawa's Charm, I believe, from the first Modern Horizon set, is just choose one, something gets +2/+2, something gets -1/-1, or you gain 2 life. I think that's a pretty good metric for whether or not a card is good, or an equipment specifically.
Yeah.
All right, time to move on to my pick. And I picked Sword of the Meek. It's 2 colorless for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+2. Equip for 2. Except those first 2 lines don't matter because whenever a 1/1 creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may return Sword of the Meek from your graveyard to the battlefield, then attach it to that creature. And I will say, unlike a lot of the cards that we've been talking about today, a counter spell or a removal spell does not answer this card unless it's exile. So this card is like combo-tastic.
Yeah, I find the Sword of the Meek really interesting because unlike most other things here, you want to put it into the graveyard. It's got more of a graveyard bent synergy to it. which I think is just a really interesting like place to have a card like this. Equipment and graveyard stuff are kind of like on two very far ends of one spectrum away from each other. I feel like sort of what Lucy was talking about earlier of, equipment is very Boros, graveyard stuff is very Sultai. This kind of like, walks the line between both. And I find it very interesting. The combos it's usually used for don't wind up being that interesting to me, if I'm honest. But the card by itself is fun to think about in a vacuum.
Well, so since no one else has called out the card by name, I'm going to name this card's best friend real quick. So this card naturally combos with the card Thopter Foundry. For those who are unfamiliar, this is an artifact from Alara Reborn. Costs a hybrid white-black and then a blue. So it's either blue-black or blue-white. And it lets you pay one, sack a non-token artifact. I don't know, like a Sword of the Meek or something. And then you put a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token with flying into play and gain 1 life. And so if you have a Sword of the Meek and you have a Thopter Foundry, then you can pay whatever amount of mana you have and get that many 1/1 flyers. You get that much life, and whatever the last flyer to come in comes in with a Sword of the Meek on it. And so that combo was actually considered good enough that Sword of the Meek was banned in Modern for a long time.
Yep.
It's just very hard to get through that wall of Thopters and that chunk of life gain. And so they did eventually unban it in Modern. They decided, we'll give it a whirl. We'll see if it's good enough. They actually unbanned it at the same time as they banned Eye of Ugin. So this is right after they were killing Eldrazi Winter. And people tried it. Every once in a while someone tries to play Thopter Sword. It's not, quite as busted as Magic has gotten over the years. And so now it's just kind of a cute reminder of gnarly combos that the Esper Shard could pull off.
I like me some cute gnarly combos.
Yeah, I mean, being able to just fart out a bunch of Thopters,
adorable little blue Thopters.
Yeah, I didn't know they were blue from Thopter Foundry. That's cool.
Yep, makes little blue Thopters, just like Brea.
Oh, are hers also like blue color? I don't know. I usually don't see Thopters having a color I didn't name.
As an appreciator of Thopters and all things thopping, I enjoy me an occasional blue Thopter. Though I do think Krenko got it right by making a 4/4 Thopter that blows up lands. That was a pretty impressive Thopter, I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, me and you talked about that card one time.
Yeah. Okay, so my last card that we'll be discussing today, from me at least, I think we have one more after this, is Cryptic Coat, 2 and a blue, or an artifact equipment. When it enters the battlefield, you cloak the top card of your library, then attach Cryptic Coat to it. To cloak a card, you put the top card of your library face down as a 2/2 creature with Ward 2. And if it's a creature, you can turn it face up by paying its mana cost as a special action. The equipped creature also gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked. And you may pay 1 and a blue to return Cryptic Coat to its owner's hand, which is your only means of equipping something again, quote unquote. Since there is no like innate equip cost for this. And what you'll notice about this card is that it's not very good, but I do think it's interesting. Like 5 mana make a 2/2. It doesn't sound particularly great, but that's something that you can do to just like make a lot of tokens in mono blue, which it doesn't have a ton of other great options for, at least not on a budget. And I don't know, I just think the flavor of this is really fun, of a magic coat that makes the guy wearing it like really cool, but the coat is the one with all the power, not the guy. I don't know, it's cute. I like this card.
I
like this card too. I have a soft spot for cards that bounce themselves to create a value engine. They're not always good, but this is Ravnica. This is the home of disinformation campaign and things like that, where you find a way to bounce it. This gives you the way to bounce it. You have to pay mana for it, which is maybe the arguably most fair way to do it. But it's a built-in, it's an all-in-one little engine. Never say no to making more morphs. I know they're not technically morphs; they are cloaked creatures. But to me, they'll always be morphs. These ones just happen to have ward. But yeah, no, cryptic coat's cool. It can be kind of annoying and limited, but if your opponent's best play every turn is to pay 5 mana and cloak top card of their library, you're probably okay. But it was a cool card, yeah.
I freaking love this card so freaking much. It just does everything I want. It gives you 2/2 bodies that have ward 2, which are not the best bodies, but still good bodies. Makes them not be able to be blocked, which means you can be a little bit aggressive from time to time. And you can continue to make more bodies and more bodies, which is the control mage's best friend. So you can just hold open the mana to bounce this, and also hold up counterspell, which is just kind of nice.
If you're gonna hold up mana, 2 mana,
yeah, and one of the
nice
about
to be
this
holding
card,
up. That's also the power.
Yeah, it's a good
I wish it had
amount
flash.
to hold up for most counterspell. Oh goodness, flash would be an interesting addition on this. I don't know where you'd put it. This card is word salad. To the turn, but yeah. I mean, one of the nice things you could do with this card is if you had the ability to figure out what the top cards of your deck were, and you didn't really have a good way to get rid of them, you can also just use this to turn lands into actual creatures. That's the other benefit too, because cloaked. If you're cloaking a card from your library, it's that instance of the card you're cloaking doesn't inherently have to have the ability to be played as a cloak card. It doesn't have the ability to cloak itself, and so you can just kind of take some nonsense off the top of your deck if need be.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if you want to give it flash, you can always run Shimmermere.
I think there's better ways to give it flash.
Our all-star Shimmermere.
Yeah.
You know what? I've cast a Shimmermere in my day, unsurprisingly, as I'm about to talk about an affinity card. So, yeah, I'll wrap us up here with our last card of the day. Is an equipment that is near and dear to my heart after playing Modern Affinity for many, many years. This is Cranial Plating. Cranial Plating, 2 mana artifact equipment. Equips for 1. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. You can also pay 2 black to attach Cranial Plating to target creature you control. Notably, not at sorcery speed. You can attach Cranial Plating for 2 black whenever you want. Now, Cranial Plating was part of a cycle, and that cycle, other than Cranial Plating, is almost exclusively atrocious. So I looked it up earlier. Can either of you tell me what the red card gives to the equipped creature? So it's the same cost, 2 mana, equips for 1, and it can be attached to instant speed for red.
First Strike?
I'm going to go with Menace, because that wouldn't be very good.
So
I think this is pretty.
Jam is actually correct. It gives First Strike. It only gives First Strike. It does not give any additional power. It does not give any toughness for any reason. It just gives First Strike. The green one gives +1/+1 and trample. Cranial Plating regularly gives your creatures something in the ballpark of +7/+0, +9/+0, +10/+0. Cranial Plating is an affinity player's best friend. For every Ornithopter, for every Memnite, for every Signal Pest, for every Darksteel Citadel. And you know what? Cranial Plating counts itself. And the fact that you can pay black to put this on for instant speed means that there were games where you could say, all right, I have the mana, I'm gonna pay the 1, put this on an Ornithopter, and swing. And the Ornithopter's lethal, so you have to block it. But then when you block it, I'll just move it on to something else. And now you've blocked an O2 Ornithopter that wasn't going to do anything, and you're about to take 15 off a Signal Pest for no reason. Unsurprisingly, this card is banned in Pauper. This is simply just way too good for Pauper, which is why when they printed Cranial Ram, which is this but for black and a red with Living Weapon, I can't fathom how they thought that was going to be okay for Pauper. It It was not. It was very clearly not okay for Pauper. It did not last. But cranial plating.
I believe they pre-banned it, actually. Like, they just straight
yeah,
up banned
you're
it
right. They
for-
did pre-ban it. You're right.
They're straight up
I'm just floored that they printed cranial plating with living weapon. One of the cards that I've seen that made me the giddiest, but also go, why are you printing this?
Yeah, I will say I know what the blue version of this card gives. It gives Shroud.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nurok Stealth
The
Suit
blue
gets shouted out
version-
sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Nurok Stealth Suit is the only other card in this cycle that's remotely okay.
and it's only because it's sometimes played in Commander. I will say, yeah, this card
Yeah.
is so busted. First off, it counts itself. So even with 0 other artifacts
Mhm.
on the
Yeah.
field, it's already giving a stat bonus, which is just so ludicrous. And then instant speed attachment is so good, especially like because I know Affinity plays a lot of cheap like flyers, like the Thopters are like 0 mana and they have
Oh, we played
flying.
Volt Scourge.
And then you also got the like
Yeah.
lands that turn into creatures as well, so that if you like people somehow remove your artifact creatures, you can just go, I'm gonna animate my land and put my cranial plating on it. It's just so backbreaking.
Oh, you know me well. So for the viewers that there's no reason you would know, because I don't think I've mentioned on the podcast, I have Inkmoth Nexus tattooed on my body. I love Inkmoth Nexus. I have put a cranial plating on an Inkmoth Nexus many times. And why hit someone for 20 when you only need to hit them for 10, I'd say.
Yeah.
If anyone's curious, by the way, I have pulled up the white card from that cycle. Since it's the only one that didn't get mentioned. Does anyone have a guess as to what the white card from this cycle gives? It's the worst one, if you need a hint.
Damage reduction, probably.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess damage reduction. 1 less damage reduction.
You're actually both right. So it gives the equipped creature +0/+2, and it grants the creature the cleric ability of tap, prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn.
Woo!
Arguably,
hell
actually
no.
not the worst thing ever in Limited, because in Limited those effects are actually pretty annoying. But yeah, compared to cranial plating, it's pretty unimpressive.
We did it. We broke Healing Salve.
Yeah. So we also, if anyone's curious, 'cause I have them up. So we have the Nurok Stealth Suit, we have the cranial plating, then we have Healer's Headdress, Horned Helm, and Sparring Collar. 4 cards that will go down as the cards that completed the cycle of cranial plating.
This card is just so.
Eat your
For
heart
the
out,
Magic
Fifth Dawn
cards of all
fans.
time, for sure.
It's just one of the all times.
Yeah.
I love cranial plating. It's one of my favorite
In
cards ever
hindsight, it's
printed.
probably good that
I
they did the
adore cranial
experiment.
plating.
Oh. In hindsight, I think it's good that they experimented with like moving equipments around at instant speed pretty quick into the lifespan of equipment, because then they could realize early on that it's really stupid and they shouldn't do it very often, if at all.
Yeah. That is absolutely for sure.
Well, thank you guys for watching our video.
Also, it's got a little foot.
It does got a little foot. Well, thank you guys for watching our video
What's
about all these awesome equipment. We're gonna be signing off. I'm gonna say don't deck and drive. Jude, what's your sign off?
Don't equip your Memnite with a cranial plating and drive.
Lucy?
You thop on my sword until I meek.